is up? My name is Matthew Makak, and this is Teach the Teach 101 on the Dice Tower, where I teach you different tips and tricks on how to teach board games. And in this video, I'm covering how much is too much. And what I mean by this is, when is it too many games that you are actually teaching to new players, new people in the hobby, or even just people who don't necessarily want to get into the hobby, but they like playing games, and you want to, get maybe it's your family that you're, showing different games to. And if you're anything like me, I get super excited. I'm always thrilled to show people new games, right? I mean, this is why probably we like teaching games to people. So I'm always like, oh my gosh, if you like this game, then you'll probably like this one. And if you like this one, then we could play this one. And then I'm all about like, okay, now that you've learned this mechanism in a game, you could learn this in a game, and all that stuff to build upon and just show like a whole new world of gaming to folks. So that's really where I get hyper excited, and I just want to show them everything I've got, which is sometimes not a great thing to do, which I've, come to kind of realize recently, I guess. I think that sometimes we might throw games at folks too quickly. I recently had it where, my mom has actually been playing a little bit more board games with me and my siblings lately, which has been awesome. I love that. So, naturally I'm like, oh my gosh, Ma, like, you like this game? Okay, maybe you like this one, and blah, blah, blah. And it eventually got to the point where she was like, oh my goodness, another one? I can't. Like, I'm in rules overload. So that's a whole other thing too. There's rules overload for some people. Now, if we think back to when we started playing board games, and I have plenty of groups, and there are hobby gamers who still do this, but there was only like a couple of games, maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 games or something, that we played over and over and over again. I know I did, at least, when I was growing up. That's sort of what I did. I played Monopoly over and over and over again. And then, eventually when I got into like more hobby gaming, I played Pandemic over and over again, and things like that. So, and Munchkin over and over again, to the point where it's like, okay, I really learned like the nooks and crannies of this game, and there's something really special about that and really cool, which is why I think there's also a lot of people within the hobby who still do that, which is really, really awesome. I'm more of a collector of board games, so this video is really for folks who are collectors of board games. As you see, I have like a whole bunch of board games behind me. I have more board games off camera that you can't even see, so yeah. Anyway, needless to say, I love learning new games now. I'm very much into like, okay, what's the next thing and the new thing? And it's not necessarily cult of the new, although I do get into that. I love like new games that are coming out. But even just, older games that are new to me, I'm like, oh man, yeah, what's this one? It's like a new adventure for me. But we sometimes have to reel it back when we're teaching games to folks who are maybe not in the hobby or are just getting into the hobby. Again, of course, this is not for everybody. Maybe there are some folks who are like, no, show me everything, right? Like, I want to know what's that and what's that and that and that, okay? But this is for, I think, a lot of people who are like, I just want to inch my way into everything. So I think the best thing to do is, just start off with maybe a couple of games, 2 to 3 games, right? If you're excited like me, it might be difficult, to hold yourself back. It's like, oh, but there's this other game. But it is fun to just like, play the same game over and over again, with some people. Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes I get burnt out on board games, on like a certain one, if I keep playing the same one over and over again for the like 100th time. So I that's why I like jumping around to different games, and everything. But, some folks, like, I have now played Where Words I think over 50 times because my mother loves that game so much. And not just her, we have friends who are, not necessarily in the hobby, but they're like, oh yeah, let's play that one. We really like that one. And it's like, okay, and to be fair, I love that game, but sometimes I get burnt out on games. I think that maybe at that point, if you're starting to get burnt out on a game, maybe it's time to introduce them to another one. At that point, I think that's probably the best strategy to go about this. Where it's like maybe I've taught them two, and we could like flip flop back and forth on those two, and then because they'll be like, oh yeah, I really like that one. Yeah, let's play that one, or those two different ones. And when you're starting to be like, okay, I cannot play this game anymore, or even a little bit before that, because you don't want to totally burn yourself out on a game that you really like. So maybe a little bit before that, it's like, okay, I'm just going to introduce one more game. It's going to be great. It's just a third game now that I think you would like based on this. And you tell them about the theme of the game, the way it works, why they would like it based on what they've liked in other games. You got to pitch it to them, sell it to them, and see how that goes, right? See if they're willing to learn another game. Now that, because it's possible they're even starting to kind of get burnt out on certain games. I know my mom, she loved Ticket to Ride for a really long time. I keep talking about my mom, I don't know why, but she's the example I'm using right now. So yeah, we played Ticket to Ride a whole bunch to the point where she is like, and that was her favorite game. Ever, right? Like that was her favorite game. And now it is no longer her favorite game because we played it too many times with her. She was like, no, I don't want to play that one anymore. And it's like, okay, so now we could actually play some other games with you. So I think that's the main strategy of just showing folks new games, especially those who are like just getting into the hobby. Now, again, this is not for everybody. There are some folks out there who are like, no, I want to know, like, what are some of these other games that you've got? Like, tell me everything. But just be careful of rules overload because sometimes people underestimate just how intricate a board game can be sometimes, or how complex it could be. And there are people out there who are like, nope, I could handle this based on like these video games that I played or whatever, like they could be awesome at it. They could pick up things quickly. I don't know. Still, even with all the board games, they might pick up on a game that you've just showed them that is a little more complex for somebody who's just starting in the hobby, which is fine, cool. But if you show them like 20 of them in a span of like 2 weeks or something, that might be a lot. That might be information overload, which I think most times people don't quite like. So, take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear, what do you think? How much is too much for board games? I think that overall, if I was going to say on average, I would say pick 2 to 3 games to show to your new buddy or whatever it might be, and then see how that goes. Play it, especially if there's somebody who's like, no, I want to just keep on playing this over and over again. Play that until maybe both of you, or especially you, because it's important that you are also having fun. That's another thing. That's number one. Play those until you're starting to kind of get a little bit burnt out on those games. But not to the point where it's like, okay, I am now totally over this game, right? Because again, you want to select these games. That's when you maybe introduce another one. It's like, hey, I think you might like this, and you sell them on that and see where that goes. But of course, you can't force anybody to do what they don't want to do. Nobody should ever do anything like that. But anyway, thank you so much. I will catch you all next time. This has been Teach the Teach 101 on the Dice House.